One strike.
Line drive, base hit to right. That'll score one. That'll score two as the ball gets away from Grisham and right. That's going to score 3 runs. And the Washington Nationals have the lead. They got Soto hung up. They tag him out, but nobody in this.
The 2019 Nationals were a Cinderella story, and this play symbolizes the things they overcame that year. Down by 2 with only 4 outs to give, Juan Soto came up huge. But in 2020, they didn't even make the playoffs. In fact, they were 5th in the division. What happened? In 2020, the Nationals finished 26-34, good for 5th in the NL East, and by good, I mean not good. Aside from losing Rendon, this team is largely the same as last year. But between injuries, underperformance, and such a small sample size of a season, the team struggled. Moving on to the WAR leaders, it was Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, both with a 2.2 WAR. And while Trey Turner was already regarded as a good player, he takes home biggest surprise. I don't think anyone expected the offensive production we got out of him this year. And then there's the losses. They don't look that heavy on paper, but they're losing a key piece of the bullpen in Sean Doolittle, their main catcher in Kurt Suzuki, Howie Kendrick, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Ryan Zimmerman. These names were all key pieces during the 2019 run and will certainly be missed moving forward, assuming they don't re-sign any of them. This team was already the oldest team in the league in 2019, and on top of losing Rendon last year to free agency, they're losing more of these key pieces from 2019, and you have to ask, how much longer can they go before they have to tear down again? And I'm usually kind of quick to say, oh, this team should tear down now. But if we're looking at the All-Star break 2021, I think the Nationals should probably make the decision to rebuild. Strasburg, even though he just got signed to a new contract, Scherzer, Turner, maybe even Soto, probably hold on to Soto. And they need such a quick and drastic teardown because this farm system is empty. They have nothing. Let's get into it. They were ranked the 30th overall system, and they have 0 top 100 prospects. Look at that top 10 list. It's all pitchers. There's a couple of these guys that'll make the major leagues, but the only one here worth even paying attention to is probably Jackson Rutledge. The 2019 draft pick only has an average MLB outlook. You know, outlooks aren't everything, but as of right now, this is what we have to look at for the Nationals farm system, and it's not good. They have nothing to look forward to, and if they want to compete in the near future, they need to trade for some younger guys. Or else it's back to the Nationals of the 2000s where they lose and lose and lose, and then they pick Strasburg, then they pick Harper, and then it takes 15 years to rebuild. Doesn't really sound like an ideal strategy. IMO. But this is the course they're on, and they're going to need to divert, or else it's going to be back to the bottom of the league again. But while we wait for that to happen, let's talk about Juan Soto. The 21-year-old came up in 2018, ranked as the 29th overall prospect in the MLB. He immediately set the league on fire, being one of the best left fielders in all of baseball. As a 20-year-old in 2019, he had 110 RBIs, 34 home runs, a 949 OPS, 9th in MVP voting. In 2020, more of the same. He missed some time with COVID, but he led the league in batting average with a 351, led it in on-base percentage with a 490, led it in slugging 695, led it in OPS 1.185, led it in OPS plus 212, led it in intentional walks. Why not? He had 12 of those. 5th in MVP voting with only a 47-game season. Dude is insane. After his 2019 postseason performance, everyone should have Juan Soto on their radar, but if you don't, this is your notice. He should be on your radar. He's going to be a cornerstone of the league for a long time coming. Moving on to the other offensive star of the team, let's talk about Trey Turner. Known as a good leadoff hitter in the past, but not exactly an MVP-type hitter. But in 2020, as a 27-year-old, he was just different. Appeared in 59 of the 60 games, had 78 hits, had 4 triples to lead the league, stole 12 bases in that time, had a 335 batting average, 394 on base percentage, his OPS plus is 157, 7th in MVP voting. I really like Trey Turner, and I just wish we could have seen him perform like this over a full season. Hopefully he carries it into next year. As for the rest of the offense, real bad showing this year. None of the other starters had an OPS plus over 100 outside of their catcher Yan Gomes. The offense will likely be the measure that determines whether or not it's time to rebuild, because this pitching staff is fine. Arguably the best starting rotation in all of baseball. Their top 3 are Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and Patrick Corbin. And these guys played a huge part in the 2019 run. Over their careers, they average a 3.41 ERA, which is almost a full run lower than the league average. They have a 124 ERA plus, average is 100, Their average whip is 1.156, the league average is 1.3, and on any given day these guys are striking out half the batters they face in a game. And these three were another key reason why the Nationals failed in 2020. Corbin had a 4.6 ERA, Scherzer wasn't quite himself, Strasburg was out with injury. As for the bullpen, it was seemingly the problem in 2019, but they went out and got a few different guys at the trade deadline and turned it into a good bullpen. But with the loss of Doolittle in 2021, Daniel Hudson wasn't quite himself in 2020. There weren't any other real standouts, and it's going to be something they need to fix if they plan on competing. I really do hope the Nationals are good again in 2021. They were super fun to watch. It was a good story being the underdogs. They took down the Astros, who we didn't know were cheating for a few years. And when we look back to the cheating scandal, everyone's going to look at the Nationals and be like, those guys did it. They beat the cheating team. It's a shame it didn't carry over into 2020. But shortened season, few injuries. They tried to replace Anthony Rendon with Carter Kieboom, which he was one of their top prospects, but he didn't really pan out this year. He had an OPS plus in the 50s, and going from a guy who leads the league in RBIs to Carter Kieboom, you're going to see a bit of a dip in the offense. Hopefully he can bounce back in 2021. Trey Turner keeps doing what he's doing. Juan Soto's Juan Soto. The pitching staff is back to normal. Nationals could still be dangerous, but if things aren't panning out by the trade deadline, it's time to rebuild. But look back on this decade of Nationals baseball fondly. First World Series in franchise history.
Here they are, one strike away, one out away. 3-2. There it is! The Washington Nationals are world champions for the first time in franchise history.